There is no way that...
Mars Attacks, 1990s, is without doubt one of the strangest films ever made by the eccentric director Tim Burton. It is not simply a movie, but a full-blown explosion of chaos where every Hollywood rule is turned upside down. A film bold enough to wipe out its entire main cast, bring bug-eyed aliens to the big screen, and even use yodeling to save the world. Though it bombed at the US box office, Burton's creation has endured in the hearts of fans thanks to its bizarre uniqueness and undeniable cult classic status.
A world too stupid to survive.
What exactly made Mars Attacks such a peculiar and unforgettable work? Let's
Marketable.
uncover 20
Think heroic
weird and
pilots.
surprising
It felt
facts,
like satire.
Details you probably never knew about this one-of-a-kind movie. 1. Jack Nicholson was killed twice on screen. Tim Burton didn't just give Jack Nicholson one role, but two. In Mars Attacks, Nicholson played President James Dale, a calm and rational leader who ultimately gets wiped out, quite literally, by the aliens. On top of that, he also portrayed Artland, a scheming Las Vegas developer whose fate was just as grim when he was crushed by a giant globe. What's even more fascinating is how Nicholson ended up with both roles. At first, he was only invited to play President Dale, but Jack loved the script so much that he asked for another part. Instead of turning him down, Burton rewrote the film to kill Jack twice. This not only demonstrated Burton's daring storytelling style, but also showed Nicholson's own boldness, embracing the chance to die two spectacular deaths while flashing that trademark grin. Looking back, it remains one of the film's strangest yet most delightful quirks. 2. The film almost ended with nobody survives. Tim Burton never made films to please the masses, and Mars Attacks is perhaps the clearest proof. In the original draft, Burton wanted to take the every character dies concept to the extreme. From heroes to villains, everyone would be wiped out by the aliens. No exceptions. This idea terrified Warner Brothers. They begged Burton to let at least a few characters survive so the audience would have something to cling to. After heated debates, Burton reluctantly agreed, but instead of sparing the heroic figures, he chose Tom Jones and a group of animals. Thus, the finale unfolds with Tom Jones standing amid the ruins of Las Vegas, belting out "It's Not Unusual" while surrounded by birds, deer, and a handful of lucky survivors. An ending so absurd it borders on surreal, yet it fit perfectly with the film's satirical spirit. The result? A conclusion that was ridiculous, hilarious, and unforgettable. Burton proved that sometimes it is absurdity, not convention, that makes cinema into art. 3. Michael J. Fox was killed off halfway through Michael J. Fox. The superstar from Back to the Future was taken out by Tim Burton in the most unexpected way. Initially, Fox's character, Jason Stone, was intended to be one of the few survivors by the end of the story. As a witty, sharp journalist, Stone was meant to serve as an anchor for the audience amid the film's absurd chaos. But when Burton reviewed the early footage, he felt the story needed a bigger jolt. As a result, Fox's character was rewritten to die halfway through the film. His death became one of Mars Attacks' strangest and most memorable moments. Jason Stone liquefies, melting into a puddle of goo right as he tries to save his girlfriend, played by Sarah Jessica Parker. Killing off Michael J. Fox so early was not just a bold move, it was a statement: in Mars Attacks, no one is safe. Even the biggest stars could be wiped out at any moment. And that shock factor kept audiences both stunned and intrigued. 4. Originated from a violent trading card set banned in 1962, Mars Attacks did not begin as a screenplay or a fully formed film idea. It all started with a pulp-style trading card set released in 1962, also titled Mars Attacks. The cards became infamous for their shocking artwork: soldiers dissolving, cattle exploding, dogs burned alive by alien lasers. The unapologetic violence triggered public outrage, leading to the cards being pulled from store shelves almost immediately. But decades later, Tim Burton stumbled across the set again and was captivated. To him, it wasn't just gore, it was dark humour, a chaotic spirit rarely explored in Hollywood. Burton decided to channel that spirit into a film, not a serious homage to alien invasion cinema, but a gleeful demolition of the genre itself. The result was Mars Attacks, a film so bizarre it stood apart from everything else, where chaos reigned and no one was ever safe. 5. Yodel became the weapon of mass destruction that saved Earth. In the history of cinema, countless methods have been used to save the world. Nuclear bombs, superheroes, advanced technology. But Mars Attacks chose the most absurd option imaginable: yodel. Yes, Slim Whitman's Indian Love Call, a country yodel song from the 1950s, turned out to be the ultimate weapon against the bug-eyed aliens. Whenever the tune played, their heads exploded like popcorn. Warner Brothers was far from amused. Executives believed the detail was too ridiculous, something that could ruin the entire movie. They demanded Burton remove it, but he stood firm, even threatening to quit the project if the yodel scene was cut. For Burton, it wasn't just a gag, it was the very soul of the film. And he was right. The sight of aliens collapsing en masse to a yodel song made audiences roar with laughter, cementing the sequence as one of the most memorable moments in Mars Attacks. Slim Whitman, nearly forgotten by then, suddenly found his career revived, all thanks to a bizarre musical choice that no one saw coming. 6. Stop motion was scrapped midway. From the very start, Tim Burton envisioned the aliens of Mars Attacks brought to life through traditional stop motion. For him, a devotee of handcrafted animation, stop motion was more than a technique, it was nostalgia itself. He even hired Barry Purves, a renowned animator, to design the jerky, uncanny movements that would make the bug-eyed creatures even stranger. But Warner Brothers stepped in once again. Executives insisted stop motion would be too costly and time-consuming, especially for a big-budget project. In the end, Burton reluctantly agreed to switch to CGI. Still, he fought to preserve the spirit of stop motion. The result was CGI aliens unlike the sleek digital characters audiences would later see. These Martians moved in awkward, twitchy ways, as though they truly belonged to another world. Though his original vision was never fully realised, Burton still delivered aliens that became unforgettable. And years later, test footage of the cancelled stop motion surfaced online, revealing a version of Mars Attacks that might have been even creepier and stranger. 7. The cast kept changing like a joke. Imagine being Tim Burton, about to shoot a wildly ambitious sci-fi film. You want an all-star cast to guarantee public attention. Hugh Grant, Susan Sarandon, and several other big names were initially targeted for Mars Attacks. But then, everything began to fall apart. As the script grew stranger, with Congress destroyed within minutes of the opening and Tom Jones surviving alongside a pack of animals, stars started dropping out. Many admitted they simply could not understand what this film was supposed to be. Hugh Grant, Susan Sarandon, and others quietly exited, leaving Burton with a casting nightmare. Yet Burton refused to quit. He rebuilt the lineup with unexpected choices: Pierce Brosnan, Glenn Close, Jack Nicholson, and Danny DeVito. Ironically, that chaos produced the perfect cast to embody the film's absurd, satirical spirit. Danny DeVito only appeared in a tiny cameo, a hapless gambler killed almost immediately, but he was so enthusiastic that he agreed without hesitation. Meanwhile, Glenn Close and Pierce Brosnan delivered performances dripping with satire, perfectly matching the script's madness. 8. Tom Jones and his one condition: I must sing. When Tom Jones was invited to play himself in Mars Attacks, he laid down one non-negotiable condition: I'll do it, but I have to sing. True to form, Tim Burton agreed instantly. Not only that, he rewrote the ending so Tom Jones could stand tall amid the ruins of Las Vegas and belt out "It's Not Unusual." In a film already drowning in absurdity, making Tom Jones the heroic survivor pushed the madness even higher. That final image, him singing while surrounded by wild animals and a handful of lucky survivors, became a moment both hilarious and surreal. The irony, that scene didn't even exist in the original script. Yet thanks to Jones's single demand, Burton not only added it, but turned it into one of the most iconic moments in the film. 9. Danny Elfman and the fateful reunion with Tim Burton. Danny Elfman and Tim Burton were once Hollywood's golden duo. From Batman to Edward Scissorhands, Elfman crafted the unmistakable soundscapes that defined Burton's worlds. But after The Nightmare Before Christmas, their partnership collapsed. Burton sought other composers, while Elfman pursued his own projects. With Mars Attacks, Burton initially looked for fresh collaborators, but none could capture the chaos and insanity the film required. At last, he turned back to Elfman. And Elfman, with his trademark manic brilliance, was ready to return. The result was a soundtrack of pure mayhem, loud, ferocious, and gloriously unhinged. Elfman turned each scene into a musical assault, syncing perfectly with bug-eyed aliens and endless explosions. His music elevated Mars Attacks into a bizarre nightmare that was both comic and unforgettable. 10. The aliens once had fully written dialogue. Few realise that Tim Burton originally wanted the bug-eyed aliens in Mars Attacks to speak their own language. In the first script, complete conversations were written in a fabricated tongue. Voice actors even recorded all the lines, and the visual effects team synced them to the aliens' mouth movements. But when Burton reviewed the footage, he hated it. The voices sounded too human, stripping away the absurdity that defined the film. He made a bold choice, scrapping all the dialogue and replacing it with one bizarre sound: ack, ack. Unexpectedly, that nonsense squawk became the defining symbol of Mars Attacks. Silly, hilarious, and unforgettable, it fit Tim Burton's style perfectly. Illogical, surprising, and like nothing else. 11. Slim Whitman revived his career from a single scene. Slim Whitman, once a country music legend of the 1950s, had nearly faded into obscurity before Mars Attacks came along. Yet a single scene brought him back into the spotlight. Burton chose Whitman's Indian love call as the ultimate weapon against the Martians. The odd yodel tones made their heads explode like fireworks, and that absurdity instantly became a piece of cinematic legend. At first, no one believed such an outdated yodel song could have any effect, but when the film was released, Indian Love Call suddenly turned into a phenomenon. Audiences not only burst out laughing at the ridiculousness on screen, but also started seeking Whitman's music again. The result was astonishing. Whitman regained public attention and sold a surge of albums. Burton later admitted that one of his favourite moments was hearing theatres erupt with laughter every time the song played. What seemed like a nonsensical detail ended up proving the strange power of cinema, the ability to resurrect a forgotten career. 12. Burton turned down dinosaurs to focus on aliens. Before Mars Attacks came to life, Tim Burton was offered another project, Dinosaurs Attack, also based on a violent trading card set, but this time featuring dinosaurs instead of aliens. The idea sounded tempting, but Burton quickly declined. His reason was simple. He did not want to be overshadowed by Jurassic Park, Steven Spielberg's dinosaur juggernaut that had dominated cinemas just a few years earlier. Instead, Burton chose Mars Attacks because the card set carried something more unique, a mix of cartoonish violence and dark humour. It was the perfect ground for him to create a film not only different from Jurassic Park, but one that shattered sci-fi conventions entirely. That decision gave Burton the freedom to unleash his wildest ideas, killing off nearly every main character, using yodel as a weapon, and more. The result was a film unlike anything else, bizarre, distinctive, and unmistakably Burton. 13. Martin Short and his unforgettable slimy creep role. In Mars Attacks, Martin Short played Jerry Ross, the White House press secretary, a sleazy womanizer utterly useless when chaos struck. It was a radical departure for Short, best known for his lovable comedic characters. Under Burton's direction, he transformed into a figure so pathetic that audiences couldn't decide whether to hate him or laugh. Jerry Ross wasn't just incompetent, he made some of the dumbest decisions in the entire film. The most infamous moment came when he invited Martian Girl, an alien in disguise with a bizarre allure, straight into the White House. The result? Martian Girl killed him on the spot, leaving behind one of the most absurd yet darkly funny death scenes in Mars Attacks. 14. Las Vegas was destroyed literally. One of the most haunting images of Mars Attacks is the total annihilation of Las Vegas by aliens. But few realise that this sequence wasn't just CGI magic. Tim Burton had an actual miniature Las Vegas built, recreated with astonishing detail, from lavish hotels and glowing casinos to the bustling streets. The team of model makers spent months crafting every block and neon sign. And then, within minutes of filming, Burton ordered the entire masterpiece obliterated. Buildings crumbled, lights burst, signs caught fire, and the miniature Vegas collapsed into ashes. Burton explained that using practical models gave the destruction a visceral weight, while also paying homage to 1950s sci-fi aesthetics. It was pure Burton, willing to sacrifice months of work for a few seconds of unforgettable chaos. 15. Danny DeVito and his tiny yet unforgettable cameo. Danny DeVito is a Hollywood heavyweight, yet in Mars Attacks, his role lasted only minutes, playing a hapless gambler doomed to die almost instantly. On paper, it looked like nothing. But on screen, he stole attention every time. With his natural comedic timing and unmistakable style, DeVito turned the small part into a delightful highlight. Burton later revealed that DeVito joined purely out of love for the script's madness, not for money or glory. His ridiculous death, gunned down while frantically trying to escape, became one of the film's funniest moments. That cameo proved a point. In the absurd universe of Mars Attacks, no role is too small to make a lasting impact. 16. Martian Girl and Lisa Marie's painful sacrifice. Martian Girl is one of the most haunting figures of Mars Attacks. A pale face, a bizarre smile, and an inhuman gait. But to embody this icon, Lisa Marie, Tim Burton's girlfriend at the time, endured a grueling ordeal. She spent months training with a mime coach to perfect every unnatural motion, from the strange head tilts to the floating robotic steps. Yet the harshest part was her costume, a skin-tight latex dress that made it nearly impossible to breathe deeply or sit down. To achieve the surreal silhouette, she also wore a bent metal frame inside the dress, which strained her spine throughout the shoot. Despite the pain, Lisa Marie delivered an unforgettable performance, turning Martian Girl into a figure both seductive and terrifying. The character went on to inspire pop culture, from cosplay to appearances on shows like RuPaul's Drag Race. 17. The unfortunate clash with Independence Day. Many assume Mars Attacks was designed as a parody of Independence Day, but the truth is quite different. Burton's project was in development earlier, yet its release timing made the two films appear linked. While Roland Emmerich's Independence Day was a serious, grand spectacle with an all-star cast and a rousing message of human unity, Mars Attacks went in the opposite direction. Chaotic, satirical, and gleefully dismissive of all conventions. Burton deliberately portrayed humans as bumbling and fragile, easily crushed, rather than heroic saviours of Earth. But fate intervened. Independence Day premiered months earlier and quickly became a worldwide sensation with massive box office returns. Its overwhelming success completely overshadowed Mars Attacks, leaving many to wrongly believe Burton's film was just a parody, even though his concept had existed long before. 18. a flop in the US but a hit overseas. When Mars Attacks premiered in the United States, it was quickly branded a disaster. Most audiences couldn't grasp the dark satire and absurd humour Burton injected into the film. On top of that, its release alongside Independence Day made it suffer even more by comparison, dismissed as too weird to matter. But outside America, the story was completely different. In France and Japan, audiences embraced the film with open arms. They loved exactly what US viewers rejected: the bizarre Martian girl, the illogical yet hilarious plot twists, the campy excess. In Europe, where satire and avant-garde art are celebrated, Mars Attacks was praised as a pop art masterpiece dripping with camp. Meanwhile, in Japan, where culture often reveres the strange and surreal, the film struck a chord and quickly found devoted fans. Though it failed commercially in its homeland, Burton proved a point. Films don't need to please everyone to become unforgettable. Sometimes finding the right audience is enough, and for Mars Attacks, that audience lived beyond America's borders. 19. Martian Girl became a drag icon. Martian Girl was not only one of the most striking images in Mars Attacks, but also crossed over into drag culture and camp fashion. With her ghostly white face, crimson lips, and unnatural walk, she embodied both allure and terror, a combination rarely seen in film characters. After the film's release, Martian Girl inspired drag performers around the world. On shows like RuPaul's Drag Race, her image has been recreated repeatedly through daring, flamboyant costumes. The blend of eerie beauty and comedic absurdity made her a perfect symbol of drag culture, where difference and irrationality are celebrated. Beyond drag, Martian Girl influenced fashion and art. Designers borrowed from her look to create collections steeped in camp and retro-futurism. Lisa Marie, the actress who played Martian Girl, once admitted she never expected her role to resonate so strongly, yet her uniqueness turned Martian Girl into more than just a character in Burton's film. She became a timeless pop icon. 20. From box office bomb to immortal cult classic. When Mars Attacks first premiered, it was branded a disaster. Poor box office numbers and critics tearing it apart. Yet, in a strange cinematic twist, the film slowly found its own audience, eventually transforming into a cult classic, adored by those who cherish eccentricity and defiance. What turned failure into legend? Its unmatched oddity, dark humour, bizarre characters, and absurd highlights, like yodels making alien heads explode, made Mars Attacks stand apart from every Hollywood standard. Over time, audiences began to see the film differently, no longer as a failed joke, but as a daring piece of art. Today, many critics even praise Tim Burton for his risk-taking and singular creativity. Now, Mars Attacks is more than just a film. It is a symbol of difference, a reminder that a box office flop is never the final word. For those who revel in weirdness and chaos, Mars Attacks remains a small but unforgettable planet in the galaxy of cinema. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy the wild spirit of Mars Attacks, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more hidden gems of cinema. What do you think of this film? Leave a comment below, and see you in the next video.